Hi fellow traders, I hope everybody had a good day today. Had a couple of good movers, but they were very few. Other than that, it was just a very quiet snoozer type of day. But I did get my SureTrader account back online. Took one trade out of it, tried to get it working. Did make a video, but it had my account number on it, and I can't do that anymore. So I can't really use a video, but it did show, how I was looking at level 2 and what caused me to take the trade off when I did. But just to give you an idea of what I was looking at, because I traded this out of both accounts, and what I was looking at, we had a gap up, and right after I drew my lines, my levels, these two came, in the focus. And it pretty much traded between these all pre-market. So I knew these levels would be significant. And I had two plans, as I normally do, for the opening range breakout. We had the 2202 level. If this pushed at the open and held this level, I was going to take a long trade off of this 2202 up to 2298. That was the next level of resistance it ran into. Now, if it couldn't push this, then I would look for the breakdown, the opening range breakdown, taking it below this 2202. For here would be the first cover, 2150. And then we had this big window to get into. Now, also, had I missed this, I was looking to get in here under this 2150 level and possibly fade it back down to the 2030s. So there was a couple of things that I was looking at, and I had in my mind that I could do any number of those things. So we're going to look at this SureTrader trade first. And what I took was, this was a trade that I took under the 2150 range level. I didn't catch this out of the gate. I caught this in Speed Trader out of the gate, and because I was still fumbling with this, and then I was able to get this trade under the 2150 level, just like I had planned, because we had a big window down here. So it was worth the risk of, I was risking about 10 cents to make over $1. That was a no-brainer. So I did get in, but I was watching level 2, pretty tight, and I started to see a shift. And what I mean was, I started to see the sellers start to dry up, and I started to see a lot of people coming in on the bid side. And when I saw that, if I was in 600 shares from the start, I think I was in 300 on this. If I was in 600 shares, I would have taken half off and then waited to see if this thing would have, pulled back. But I was only in 300 shares. We're in a small account, and I had at least 5 or 6 times my commission. So I went ahead and popped it and took, the 87 bucks. I knew based on how many cents I was up, because you could always look and see what your average price is and determine how many cents you have profit. So if I have over 20 cents profit, if I have about 25 cents, I'm good. I'm not going to worry about that. That's going to cover my commissions and give me a nice, chunk on this trade. And you have to think in context of your account size. If you have a $2,000 account and you make $75 on it, you have to look at what percentage did you just grow your account. That's what it's all about. And in this case, let's say I made $75. I just gained what, 3% on my account in, let's see, less than 5 minutes. That's not a bad gain. So, we have to look at it in the context of that. But I didn't really set up any more for a decent move, and I didn't really find any more trades that was really worth me taking out of this account. So this was the only trade today, and what I've done is I put this up so you can see exactly what my commissions were for each trade I took, well, this is just a running total, so it's not going to tell you, for each trade. But I did make a pretty decent profit. And if you could do like 2 or 3 of these trades a day, you can get your account grown in no time. And that's all we're doing now, is we're in the account growing mode. So all we're going to do is we're going to look to hit our targets. We're going to get in a trade, get in a good setup, preferably an A+ setup. We're going to make sure we have enough profit potential, and we're going to make sure that we manage the trade correctly. And this wasn't a spook out. This was a legit. I saw something on level 2, and this chart confirms it. So that was the end of that trade. So now we're gonna look at the ones I did in my other account. In this one, the first trade I took, the 5-minute opening range breakdown, according to my plan, I got in right here under the VWAP, still risking on this 2202. If this level here cracked or was breached, then my trade plan is dead. So as long as we were below this, the trade plan was intact. So I went ahead and got in right here, 2185, and we got the quick move down to 2150. So I took half here according to plan. And then we got this candle. And this candle it was just weird. But I just went ahead and clicked it at break even. I didn't even let this test this level, which was the proper thing to do. I was just kind of out of sorts on this, and I went ahead and clicked it at break even because this was my first trade, and I did go ahead and book this profit. Well, this was the trade I took, and this was pretty much the same trade I took in my small account. But instead of me getting out, and the numbers are a little bit off because I went from one computer to the next. So they're close. I did get in at 2141, which I think I got in was the same on both. But my exit was a cent or two off. I think the small account I got out at 2109, and this I got out at 2107. But I only took half off, and I just waited, and I gave this room because I had this cushion. I already had this cushion, so I was going to let it work this time. And it tested this too many times, too much consolidation here. Then it finally sold a little bit, but it still did not lose this 21 level. It breached it a little bit, but then it held. And when it did that, I went ahead and took another quarter off. So I left a quarter on to see if I was ever going to get the move that I was looking for. I figured this would bleed all day. I didn't expect it to come back and consolidate above the 9 and the 20 as long as it did. I almost took it off, but I only had a quarter size in, so it didn't make sense just to pull it off and not let it work. So finally, it started to break down, and I thought I would get the move that I wanted. It fooled me again. Came back and lost it. And again, I just said, well, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to let it hang on until, the end of, hang on to the end of the day. Let's see if we get a wash in the last 30 minutes or so. That wash never really came. So I got out here at 20.95. Pretty much gave up 10 cents from where I should have covered earlier, but that's just the name of the game. I was holding it. That was my plan, to hold it, pretty much most of the day to see if we got that. We didn't, so I was out. This was the longest trade, I guess, one of the longest ones I've had this year. But it was stressless. Never did try to breach the VWAP or anything. Never really came close to me getting out. I mean, the idea was to get out was here around in this area, but I just left it on. The other stock I traded today was LILK. This was a bottom reversal attempt. It really, I traded this wrong. When I saw this, when it hit the scan, it was a little bit late. I really wish I had seen this when it was losing 30.94, because I would have shorted this all day long. 30.94 was the all-time low for this stock. So it had cracked the all-time low. This thing had the potential to bleed forever. But I didn't. And then I thought about flipping it. And I mentioned it in chat so many times that this isn't, if this doesn't work, I'm going to flip it right here under the 9. I tried it, but my short didn't fill. And what I try to do is, I had a order that was, instead of this, being 500 shares, I had it for 1,000 shares. But for some reason, it only took out the 500. It sold 500 here, but it didn't sell the other 500 short that I wanted. And I should have gone back in and just shorted this thing, but I figured, well, if it didn't do that, so maybe it's not meant to be. But that was a short. This was nice. This was over a point. And it was pretty much stressless because it stayed under the 9 the whole time. Never came back. The only time it breached the 9 was here. And this was a nicer reversal. But because we don't have any support or resistance, you can only use whole dollar and half dollar marks. So I used this whole dollar here, it was 30, as a guide when I got in this. And you can see down here, this was the whole dollar mark 29 that kind of defended right here. But just didn't trade this stock well at all. And I did get a little scalp here on the 500 shares. I only went in 500 because this did not have any support. I was just basing it off the whole dollar mark. And whenever you do that, there's a pretty big risk. So when there's a little bit more risk, I'll reduce my share size so that I'm not so stressed out in the trade. But hopefully, next time I'll be a little bit more locked in and a little bit more focused. Wish I had got this alert a little bit earlier, because you're going to have about 80% success when you short stocks that break their all-time lows, or you go long on stocks that make their all-time highs. You're pretty much guaranteed to make some profit. The problem is you don't see these every day. and not often do you run into this. You can scan for it, but usually I find these on my reversal scans anyway. But that was my day. Not anything to write home about. Just glad to have my SureTrader account back, and we should have that squared away, and I should have some good trades and some good videos this week. Now that I've had enough time to practice and get some good dry runs in. So just stay tuned for that. Also, I did, and I'm not gonna beat it in the ground, but I did put out a little infomercial about the day trading psychology workshop that I'm putting out. So if you're interested in that, you can get in touch with me if you want to ask me any more questions, or you can check that video out if you haven't. That's here on YouTube as well. So everybody have a great evening, a great night, or a great morning, and I'll see you tomorrow in chat.